Hello, and welcome to day two of the Unleash Your Inner Witch Masterclass. My music is too loud. Just gonna give us a moment and see if there's anybody who is going to be joining live. I know that this time didn't work for a lot of people, but I did get some great feedback about the recording from yesterday. So we'll just listen to the song for a moment, give those trailers a moment to show up, and then I'll dive right in and we'll get into today's material. So get settled. If you're watching the replay, make sure that you're in a comfy place. If you can be somewhere where you won't be disturbed, that's great. You'll probably or may want to have a journal, something to write with. I know I always like to take notes, and if anything comes through that you want to delve into deeper, it's good to have something handy. You can always pause it if you're watching the replay and go and grab those things. Make sure you have a glass of water with you, something to nibble on maybe, depending on the time of day, and just start to arrive. I would like to acknowledge the time that you are taking out of your day to be here with me. And it's not nothing. To show up for ourselves often means saying no to other people, to other obligations. And so I really want you to take a moment and appreciate that you have taken this time for yourself. That's going to be a bit of a theme today because taking time for ourselves, for our own personal development and growth is something that as women we often struggle with. And again, it comes right on back to that pesky old witch wound. So check in. How are you arriving feeling? Did you do yesterday's homework? If you did, I would really love to hear from you. Somebody wrote me an email this morning to say they'd watched yesterday's replay and aren't able to do the homework just yet, but are excited to do so when they get home. So that could be you too. It's not always easy to go find somewhere safe to scream, but if you did it, I would really love to hear how it went, how it felt, what it brought up for you. And yesterday I talked a lot about how the witch wound holds us back, how it shows up in our lives, how we've internalized it. I told several stories about my own experience with the witch wound in my life. And I want to just start today by giving a bit of context around what we're going to cover today. So we'll recap yesterday's training, teaching briefly, really briefly. We were going to have a discussion around the homework. So far, I don't have people live with me, so you're going to have to discuss to yourself or send me an email. And then we'll talk about some throat chakra stuff, healing, how you know when it's blocked, how you know if it needs some attention, when it's off balance, ways that you can help to balance it, to heal it, beyond just seeking outside help of an energy healer. I'll talk about some practices and tools that you can use to start healing your energy or your witch wound rather. And then we'll get into the manifestation side of things because that is always so fun. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to go deeper with me and what the one-on-one space, I've termed it rekindled, but it's a 12-week container. Some of my clients choose to spread it out and do it more like a 6-month container and see me bi-weekly instead of weekly 12 week for 12 weeks. But I'm going to talk about what it looks like inside Rekindled and the special offer that I am extending to everybody who has signed up for this masterclass. I wish that I could offer a really quick fix for the witch wound, but if you're here, it's probably because you are on the self-discovery healing journey and you know that there are no quick fixes. For myself, I know I'm still working on my witch wound. I think it's something that we constantly will be peeling layers away from. But when I think back to where I was even 2 years ago, the depth of change that this work has brought and the healing that it has brought me is amazing. It's astounding. I don't know that I often give credit for the power of the work that I have done for myself and that I now teach and hold for other people. And it was a lot to do with that immersion in that year-long wild medicine energy healing training that I took. That was like a dedication to myself for a year of discovering. I started off the year, I would like just to say, I started off that year thinking that energy healing was kind of BS. Like, I didn't believe it. I distinctly remember the first weekend intensive that we had, and at the end of the first day, Nadine, my mentor, paired me and another healer app and had us exchange healing over Zoom while she kind of walked us through it. And I remember sitting there being like, I don't know if I'm doing anything. I'm seeing things in my head, but it feels a little bit made up. Like, what is this? And then the woman I had offered healing to spoke and told me what she had seen and felt during the healing. And my jaw probably hit the floor because what she was describing she had felt was what I had been doing, what I had felt and seen myself. And so since then, the synchronicities just keep piling up. And all that to say that there is wisdom here beyond the scientific and the known and the rational. And this connects to the witch wound because so many of us are going to have that knee-jerk, like, this isn't science, this is totally woo out there. We touched on how woo has been a bad word historically yesterday. And living in that must be totally rational, totally scientific in your head, in your mind at all times is very much prized by society. It is what the patriarchy would have us do. And it causes us to ignore our intuition, ignore our inner knowing, those things that we can't explain, but that our bones feel are true and are there. It's all wrapped up in that. So I think that I'm rambling, but but it is all tied in together. And the work has given me tools to walk in integrity with myself and explore those sides that felt really scary to explore and to start to speak about it. And there's a few quick, simple practices that really simple practices that have become a daily ritual for me that have really made a huge shift and impact. And I always share these when I'm working one-on-one with clients. It's something that we dive into for sure. So I'll go a little bit more into that at the end again, but let's dive into the juicy parts for today. And as always, as we did yesterday, as I do at the beginning of every session, whether it be a group or one-on-one, I'm going to guide us into a visualization meditation. And let me just grab the music. Okay. I'm hopeful that this is playing. Yes, it is. Okay. Don't want to make it too loud. Okay. So, wherever you are, if it's safe to do so, take a moment to settle into your body. When you feel ready, and if it feels comfortable, close your eyes. And just start to bring your awareness, your attention to your breathing. Just notice your breathing. Notice if it's deep or shallow. Notice if it gets stuck anywhere. And as you notice it, you might become aware of it lengthening naturally as your attention rests there. Allow your belly to soften on each inhale. Allow your body to be supported by the chair beneath you, by the earth beneath your chair. Really arrive here in your body, on this earth, in this moment. And as women, so often we carry the weight of all the world on our shoulders. We armor ourselves in hyper-individualism. We sacrifice our own needs for those of others. We hold it all in for fear of being a burden. As you breathe, hear my words and see what it feels like, what it might feel like to believe them. It is safe to be supported. It is safe to be seen. It is safe to be held. It is safe to be loved. I want you to know you have everything you need inside of you. Even so, it is okay not to know. It is okay to feel unsure. It is okay to feel lost. These feelings do not make you broken. They are part of being human. And though you may feel lost, you are never truly lost. You are always home in your body, on the earth. Can you feel her warmth, her love, her support? Though you might feel alone, you are never alone. The earth and all your sisters are waiting for you. They are here, all around you. It is safe to lean into them. It is safe to be vulnerable. You are supported. You are held. You are loved. Let this feeling of being held and loved and supported wash over your body. Feel it down to the tips of your toes and your fingers. And as you come back into this room, into this body, and begin to move your fingers and toes, carry this feeling of being held, of being loved, of being supported with you into this time we are spending together and the rest of your day. Take another big, deep breath. And when you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Just take a moment to come back into the room, back into yourself. If anything came up for you while you were in that visualization that you'd like to write down, please go ahead and pause the video and jot down anything that came through. So, yesterday we talked about the history of the witch wound, where it stems from the burning times, the persecution of women, gendercide, and all the ways that it manifests in our lives today and throughout society. While I was preparing for today, I was thinking about how the things that women were persecuted for and still are, they're all wrapped up in the idea of the 7 deadly sins in Christianity. And those sins are not from the origins of Christianity. They were added in later by, you guessed it, white dudes, to control the masses. And they were actually added in quite late. I was reading this morning. Yeah. 500 years nearly after the death of Christ, if our dates are right, is when these sins popped up. And it wasn't until even later that they got turned into dogma and a way to control the masses. And we carry them. They're woven through our culture. If you think about it, one of the things I talk about a lot, if you follow me on Instagram or if you're on my email list, you'll know I talk about rest all the time. And what is rest? Why can't we rest without feeling guilty? And it is because that is associated with the sin of sloth. And why can't we speak our desires? And why is it bad or evil or wrong to want wealth and abundance? Well, that is greed or lust. If we are desirous sexually of somebody, or you're a whore if you like sex with various people, even if it's consenting and safe and all of the great things that it can be. And whether or not you are Christian, if you have been raised in North America and Europe, these ideals are the fabric of our society. And so it makes sense that the witch wound was created as it were in the burning times, but then it was solidified and reinforced and retold and really woven into the fabric of our society and how we are raised and how we are told to be good little girls from a very, very young age. So if you have questions about that, if anything comes up, please jot them down as we go through too. And if they don't get answered, feel free to send me an email. I'd love to chat about it. I love talking about this topic. I could go on forever, but I'd best carry on because I'm looking at the time. It's yeah, I tend to ramble if I'm given the opportunity. So throat chakra, let's touch there before we go into the practices that we can use to heal our witch wound. And in fact, talking about the throat chakra will start us off there because it is our fifth chakra. It's here, it's our throat. And it's all about communication, which makes sense. That's where our vocal cords are. It's also about intuition, even though our third eye is what we traditionally will connect with intuition. The throat chakra is how we connect our higher selves with our kind of physical reality. It's almost like a connection between the third eye chakra, the crown chakra, and then the chakras that fall below the throat chakra. And it links our intuition with our bodies. It is how we speak our truths. It's our voice, and the way that it is affected when there are disruptions here, when you're holding back. The way the witch wound specifically affects it is that it causes you to be unable to speak your truth. Gossiping is when there's a disruption here, and so that comes back to that the jealousy piece or the competition or the fear, and if I talk bad about her, then she can't hurt me, which harkens back to if I out her as a witch, then she can't out me, even though that wasn't true at all, because everybody could be outed as a witch at that point in time. It can be about lying, same kind of thing, not trusting your intuition. And as a whole society, men and women, we have been told not to trust our intuition because there is too much power there, is what I believe is the overarching reason. But there's been this demonization of, your gut instincts and non-rational beliefs, behaviors, changes, thoughts, all of that kind of stuff. Again, harkening back to it must be rooted in rigorous masculine science. Being unable to follow your heart. So fear of following your heart or not knowing what your heart is truly desiring because we don't tune into it often enough. Doing things out of your integrity. And I know if you are here, you're a human in this room, you probably have things you have done in the past that you are not proud of, behaviors that you have acted out, things that you have said that you wish you could take back. I know I have. And part of being human is acknowledging that, being compassionate with those parts of ourselves, forgiving those parts of ourselves, and then moving forward and trying to do the healing work so that we can live in integrity. Relying solely on your intellect, again, that's when that throat chakra is out of whack, and fear of judgment, and all of these things. I don't have to tell you again, they're all tied to this witch wound. So how can you nourish it? How can you balance it? Well, obviously, you can grab my 30-minute healing, one-on-one energy healing, where we can directly do some energy work with your throat chakra. I'll link it again in the email. It's $49 for 30 minutes. And it can be done on Zoom like this. It also can be done while you go about your day, or if you know you're going to be having a rest or going for a walk in the woods. I have one client who likes to receive her healing while she's out in nature, and then I send her a voice note, and I love working this way. There's something really cool about doing those distance healings. But beyond that, how can you, without assistance, help to heal or balance your throat chakra? So speaking honestly, practicing saying what you mean, what you believe, what your truths are, saying the hard things, not keeping those things bottled up inside because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings or because it might cause a rift in a relationship or somebody might react poorly to it. Now those two things are hard to do. So easier ways to do it: sing. You don't have to sing in front of anyone, but put on your favorite tune. I'm a Swiftie. If anybody has a way to get tickets in Toronto or anywhere that aren't thousands of dollars, please let me know. I'm just going to put that plea out there. My sister and I are so desperate to go. And I guess 31 million people signed up for the the accredited fans or whatever in Canada. And so we didn't we didn't get tickets. Anyway, that's a total aside. Sing, sing, sing in the shower, sing in the car, sing where you feel safe. Who cares what you sound like? But that's a great way to open up, especially if you're holding a lot. If it feels like speaking up or out is really hard, singing is a great way to do so. Talking to yourself. I don't know about you, but I have a running dialogue at all times. I used to be a waitress, and when I would just have a running commentary to myself, and people who worked with me got to know that meant I was doing okay. If we were really busy, I would kind of be verbalizing to myself constantly. And if I was not doing okay, if I was in the weeds, as we call it, they would know. They'd be like, Eileen, what do you need? You're quiet. I'm like, oh God, I need all the things. Anyways, talking to yourself, writing poetry, language lives here, right? Even if it's not spoken language, language lives here. So write morning pages, free flow thoughts, poetry, and then practice your power. Call out racism, ableism, sexism, white supremacy, capitalism, patriarchy. As a whole, if we can start to compassionately call it out, my mentor actually says call in these things, so call it into discussion, we can start to make a shift and a change. But if we stay quiet, we allow the harms to perpetuate. And then practicing trusting your intuition. And if you don't have a firm grip on your intuition, or you're not sure how to get in touch with it, a really great place to start is to pick something that is very low stakes. Like maybe you have coffee in the morning and you're like, well, today do I want coffee or do I want tea? And you know you're going to want coffee. So just take a pause before you make your coffee. Ask your body this question, and then feel what the coffee feels like in your body. Feel what that yes feels like, and feel like what the no feels like, the tea. Every now and then my body surprises me and I want tea in the morning because I do this every morning. It's part of my routine, my ritual. But that's a great way to start practicing. And then when you know what the yes of coffee, or for you, maybe it's the yes of tea or a smoothie or whatever it is you have, when you know what the yes feels like to something that you already knew was the yes, start to notice and play with those questions with your body. And notice what yes, when you see other yeses, and when you see no's as well, and feeling what those feel like. And sometimes a no is difficult to distinguish because is it excitement or is it fear? Is it a no because I'm afraid, or is it a no because it's a bad decision for me? And that's something that I work with my clients. Sometimes you need an outside perspective. Sometimes you just need practice. It's a fine line to walk, but it's certainly something that I dive into with clients. And then breath work. Ooh, if you don't do breath work, you need to do breath work. Hit me up in an email. I will send you the name of my favorite breathwork gal, Kyla Gagnon. You can go look her up too, The Sacred Essentials, on Instagram. She is magic. So those are ways that you can help to heal your throat chakra and start to overcome this witch wound. And by working on the witch wound, by working to heal it, you begin to allow yourself to be authentically seen and heard. And the outcome of this is that you get to reclaim joy, peace, and power. These are all things that you have, that you were born with. And depending on how your childhood was, we all lost them to some extent or another along the way. For some of us, it was later in life. For some of us, it was early. But those are all things that each human being is born with and can reclaim. By working on this wound, by healing this wound, you deepen and you strengthen the relationships in your life. You find the people, you attract and call in the people who admire the real you. You get to be the real you. It's easier. And your compassion builds and grows, and that has a ripple effect. You also positively impact those around you because you show them that it's safe, that it's okay. It's a role model. It creates a tidal wave, a ripple effect, which creates a tidal wave. You also, by healing this wound, working to heal this wound, you can increase your nervous system's capacity for rejection, because rejection hurts. But when it happens more, we start to get used to it. We understand how to handle it. It becomes not so scary. We realize it's not the end of the world. Just like with anything that's hard, the more we practice it, the more we encounter it, the more resilient we become around it. We increase our capacity for conflict. This comes into boundaries, and I'm going to talk about those here shortly. But also it increases your capacity for genuine intimacy and love and vulnerability, because when you feel safe, when you are healed enough to show others your true whole self, people can feel that. And when you're not putting on the capes, the masks, the whatever it is, the pretended pieces of you, then the people who are near and dear to you will be able to really connect with the real you. And the people who don't want that you will leave. And that creates ease, sometimes pain at the beginning, but at the end of the day, that's easeful and expansive and spacious and all of those things. And the other big piece that it's starting to heal this wound does is it gives you permission. It allows you and enables you to find clarity of purpose, of find and remember those dreams, and it gives you the courage to pursue them. As I speak, I feel like I should just rename Rekindled Heal the Witch Wound. Heal your witch wound. One-on-one with Eileen, because this is so much of what we do, right? We look at the places that we carry wounds and how they impact us, and we work to craft rituals and practices to heal. And I give you this supportive container in which to feel safe and held as you start to do the work. Anyways, I promised I'd leave that for the end, but when I'm speaking to Zoom and I know people are watching the recording, but there's nobody in the room, it lets me go on tangents that otherwise I probably wouldn't if I had a face that I was responding to. So apologies. So when working, okay, pause. We're going to shift now again into practices that you can do. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that when we are working to heal our wounds, whether they be sister wounds, mother wounds, witch wounds, any kind of wounding, we have to think about the behaviors that that wound has created. And often we start to should ourselves. We start to be hard on ourselves. We don't like these behaviors. We beat ourselves up for not being able to let them go. And that is not going to work. The first step of healing is to cultivate gratitude for the behaviors that we have because of those wounds, for protecting us. They're there for a reason. They have kept us safe in past lifetimes for sure, and maybe even in this one, depending on your history, what you've experienced and lived through in this life. Just like punishment is a terrible way to train an animal, to train a human, like we do not respond well to punishment. The best way to change a behavior is positive reinforcement. And so by sitting with the behaviors that we wish to let go of, to release, to change, to heal, and really sinking into gratitude for them and for what they have done for us, that allows us to let them go much more easily. So I would encourage you, if you have time right now, to hit pause and dive into this practice a little bit. That would be amazing. If you don't, then jot it down, do it later, do it tomorrow morning or this evening, or a time when you have a little bit of time, and sit and think about the behaviors that we talked about yesterday, the ways that the witch wound shows up, and jot down the ones that are the most relevant for you, the ones that you feel come through the most strongly. So maybe it was fear of speaking your truth, showing your true self and being visible, dimming your light, shrinking yourself, hiding your gifts, doubting your intuition, feeling not enough or feeling too much or feeling both, stuffing down, mistrusting your emotions, distrusting other women, feelings of jealousy, competition, fear of repercussions for speaking up. That's just a list quickly. So pick the ones that really resonate with you, and then write them a letter of gratitude. Think about how they have served you to this point, how they have protected you to this point, and give them a letter of thanks. And once you're done, tell them that you no longer need them. It's not going to be as simple as this. They're going to keep showing up, but it's kind of the first step, right? And you may want to read the letter aloud. You may want to burn it. You may want to keep it for reference back, whatever you feel like you want to do with it. But that can be a really powerful practice. Okay, I lost my spot. Right, perfect. So energetic boundaries. When we think about healing the witch wound, once we've considered how it shows up and started to cultivate some gratitude for the ways those behaviors have protected us, we then need to start to change them, right? And a lot of them come down to boundaries. And part of why I say boundaries is because a lot of what boundaries have to do with is defending our own needs, putting ourselves first, prioritizing ourselves, and figuring out how to do that. I have entire masterclasses on saying no better and putting up kind of time-space boundaries with people. And there's not time to go into it here, but if you are curious about how to go about doing that, let me know. I think I have them recorded somewhere, and it's definitely something that I work on one-on-one with clients. There's definitely there's a blog post on my website about saying no better. If you're curious to dive in, that works too. But the biggest piece is starting to practicing setting healthy boundaries. And the way that I usually recommend for my clients to do this with their loved ones is by letting them know that you're going to be doing it. That makes it so much easier when you do go to set the boundary. If they know that it's coming, then they're less taken aback by it, because people often react poorly when you start to set boundaries because they're used to the non-boundary version of you. And so remembering that it's a them response when they're responding poorly to a healthy boundary you're setting or maintaining, it's about them. But also know that if you're setting it and they react poorly, they've got some work to do, and it's not personal, even though it feels personal. Okay, I'm not going to keep going on that one because I could talk for a whole hour about that topic. Other ways that you can do this. So as you start to speak out, step up, unleash your witch, sometimes visualizations can be really helpful and powerful. And so often when I work with clients in energy healing, we talk about setting energy boundaries, and it's a visualized sphere of light around you. It can be opaque if you need something really strong. It can be transparent if you just need a little bit of something to bounce, energies to bounce off of. I'll often say whatever color comes to mind is the right color for you, and you can always look up color correspondences online as well. But that's a really nice way of setting an energy boundary. And so if you are, for instance, freaked right out about going live on Instagram, let's just say, and you feel like it's really scary, and there's whatever your brain is making up, people are going to hate it, nobody's going to watch it, people will send me mean messages, whatever it is that your brain's doing. Visualize yourself in a glowing sphere of energy light. Feel it protecting you. Feel it letting all of the negative possible things that could happen from this live slide off of you and leave you cocooned and protected, and see how that feels. Witches often draw salt circles, use salt to cast a protective circle around energy work. And when that, that could be magic, or that could be intentionally setting that energetic boundary, that protective circle, to make the work, the self-work, whatever we're doing, feel safer. It's all about getting to our subconscious minds, right? And making ourselves feel safe, mothering ourselves into feeling safe. So other ways to start to heal this wound. And again, I'm going to have to touch briefly ancestor work, cultivating a relationship with your ancestors. I keep a photo of my grandmother on my altar and just say hi to her every morning and see if she has any messages for me. And so that meditation or visualization we did yesterday, you can go back, you can do that one again, cultivating that relationship and listening for the wisdom that can come through from our ancestors, and also assuring them that we are doing the work. It's almost like a commitment or accountability to others when we work with our ancestors. And then practicing with safe people. So if you are practicing any of these unleashing techniques, these witch wound healing things that require interaction, practice with the people who know are going to receive you well. And I'm going to chat about that a little bit in the manifestation piece here coming up. Saying yes to ourselves, it means saying no to others often. And it is really hard to say yes to ourselves, to put ourselves first. I see this often when people feel like they don't have the time to dedicate to working with me in whatever way that might be, whether it's a group container, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's just occasional energy healing. And I had something feedback from one of my clients that I just wanted to share here because it feels important. Again, witch wound, self-sacrificing, good girls, put everybody else first. This is how we are. One of my clients said to me that when she signed up to take my 6-week course, I'm not offering that course anymore, but she signed up to take my 6-week course. And she said just the act of signing up and saying yes to 1 hour a week for herself and her personal growth and development made a huge shift in the rest of her life. She suddenly was aware of where she was denying herself rest, where she was denying her bodily needs, and was able to start to shift the behaviors around that just by signing up. That started to shift even before we had our first appointment. So keeping that in mind, it's often a worthiness wound for us, no matter what it is you're looking at, whether it be to go to a massage, whether you need to, or you want to hire a counselor, whether you want to go to a spa, we tend not to feel like we are worthy of spending that kind of money on ourselves. If we flipped it around and thought about spending it on our child or our partner or a friend, it would feel totally valuable and worthwhile. But the moment we think about spending it on ourselves, we struggle. And again, that is your witch wound, telling you that you don't deserve it because you're just a lowly woman and you should be able to do it all on your own and be quiet about it while you're at it. So that's that. Dance. Ecstatic dance. We're going to dance at the end of this. I was hoping that I'd be dancing with some people on screen, but I'm going to put on a song and I'm going to get up and dance a little bit. And I'm going to encourage you to do that with me, but not till the end. But there's your warning if you want to kind of go somewhere that is private, or grab your kids or your partner and dance with them for the last little bit. It's a great way to express ourselves. Often we're very held in and tight, and being able to get big, move our bodies, not worry about what it looks like, that is a great way to start to unleash and call up that divine feminine power. Okay, so the last kind of piece we're going to touch on before I chat a little bit about what the work of Rekindled is. Manifestation. And we've circled around this, we've kind of talked about it already, and I did say at the beginning, by not shining in your truth, by not chasing your dreams, by not showing up as all of you, you forfeit your peace, your joy, your power, and you deprive the world of the amazingness that you can be. And the first step to manifesting wealth, love, abundance, whatever it is you want, manifestation is this huge buzzword these days. And I do want to just, before I say the first step, leave you hanging. Manifestation is not just about sitting in a chair and wishing. It's not wishful thinking. Manifestation, the first step, is owning a desire and believing that your desires are meant for you, that you wouldn't have them if they weren't meant for you. This belief, this owning of this desire, and owning it proudly and confidently, this is what allows you to then show up in the world as the person who is going to attract those desires, to take the steps that are required to start the ball rolling, to bring those desires in, to signal to the universe that you are in fact ready and willing and able to receive your desires. So I know it can be really fucking uncomfortable to say things like, I want shit tons of money. But unless you can claim your desires, and it doesn't have to be money, maybe you want a beautiful home on the ocean with your own private dock and a canoe. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If it feels out of reach or greedy or selfish, it's going to be uncomfortable to claim. But until you can claim it and really truly embody the belief that you are worthy of it, you will stay stuck in the cycle of poverty. And again, poverty, it could be monetary, it could be relationship. Maybe your desire is the love of your life, and you don't feel like you deserve it or are healed enough for it. So that's the first step, owning your desires. And again, I wish I had a little light switch that we could turn on, like, now I feel like I deserve it all. And I feel that trauma, but it takes practice. And so a daily practice that I recently came across and that I'd love to share with you and encourage you to incorporate is the idea of, so I was reading a book, it's called 10X is Easier Than 2X, and mostly has nothing to do with what we're talking about here today, but it's a good book. But in it, they talk about the difference between needs and wants. And I like needs and desires because desire feels less graspy and clinging to me than want. And the thing that struck me as I read this book, it's written by two men, and they were just like, well, your needs are always, the way it was written, it felt like their needs are always being met because they meet their needs. They make sure that they go pee when they need to. Women don't always. They make sure they feed themselves when they're hungry. Well, if the kids are hungry, you're probably going to wait to eat yourself. They sleep enough, they rest, they do all of these things to meet their basic needs. So the first piece is meeting our basic needs. And then if we're going beyond that to our desires, it gets really uncomfortable. Like, if it's uncomfortable to think about prioritizing our needs, how uncomfortable is it to think about prioritizing our desires? So to practice prioritizing your desires, and trust me, if you feel like your desires are yours and you're worthy of them, the needs thing is just going to happen behind it, but would be to write out and maybe practice for a week, maybe a couple of weeks, every morning, take a page. You can burn it after, you don't have to keep it. Practice writing out all the things you desire, all the things you deeply desire. Big, small, no judgment, no shoulds. What would you want truly in your life if no one, including yourself, would judge you for it? And then bonus points if you share this idea or this practice with a friend, and then take turns reading your desires to each other and holding space and like cultivating excitement and like, yes, you freaking deserve that, girlfriend, kind of kind of energy. This feeling of like, ooh, if that feels uncomfortable, that's back to the 7 deadly sins, because wanting more is greedy and greed is evil. And we've been told that more for me means less for you. And that is simply not true. I mean, unless it's like we have 3 apples and if I take 2, you only get 1. Okay. But when we're talking wealth, and wealth is not just money in the world, it's created, it's energetic, there is an abundance of it. And when women have a surplus of energy, a surplus of food, a surplus of whatever it is, when we have more than enough, when our well is overflowing, we are so much more likely to share it with our community. The people in our lives are impacted positively. We build and strengthen connections and relationships. When we have more than enough, women build strong communities together because we want to share it. We want to make sure that everyone has more than enough. But if we're starting from a place of not enough for even ourselves, it's really hard to share it and lift others up. I do believe there's a amount of wealth that is beyond what any human being really needs, but I also want to reiterate something that I heard that really stuck with me, that you cannot make yourself poor enough to make everyone else rich. And so the best way to spread wealth, and again, doesn't have to be money, I'm going to keep harping on that, is to make yourself wealthy so that you are able to share your abundance with everyone around you. And it ripples out and it ripples out. So if all of this is stirring something in you, if you're feeling called out or seen, if you're feeling like you want to take this a bit deeper, then know that I am here for you with Rekindled. Also, if you don't feel like I'm the right person, please go seek out a coach or a healer, somebody to support you on your journey, because the truth is that we can all do it alone if we really want to. We can. But I'm a firm believer that we shouldn't. When I think about my own journey, I had a coach as part of my coaching program. I had my mentor as part of my healing program. Since graduating from both of those and starting my practice, I have a one-on-one business coach. I have a mastermind, a community. We are social creatures. We are not meant to go it alone. You can read the books and implement the things, but if you're feeling lonely on your journey, if you have no one to reflect back to you the thoughts, the behaviors, the beliefs that are cropping up for you, it is just harder. It is. I believe you can do it because you are a strong, capable woman. But remember what I said about hyper independence and it being toxic. And again, I may not be the person for you, and there may be just a community group of women, a book club, something. Find something to support you in this work and talk about it. I'm so passionate about that. If you do want to dive deeper with me, the first step is going to be to book a 45-minute, totally free curiosity call. And in that call, we get clear on where you're at. We get clear together on what your next best steps are. We craft you a ritual so that even if you don't feel like it's a good fit, or we don't feel like it's a good fit or a good match, or that I can take you on this part of your journey, that you walk away with something. For everybody who is here, for everybody who has signed up for and received and watched this replay, I am offering a special discount on Rekindled. So Rekindled is a 12-week container. I understand that not everybody can do weekly for 12 weeks with their schedules. That can be tough. And so I've also spread it out over 24 weeks before, where it's bi-weekly calls. But basically it's 12 calls. Within Rekindle, there's two options. There is bi-weekly coaching with bi-weekly healing. Does that make sense? Coaching, healing. I used to do that when describing to people how to take their Tylenol and Advil as a midwife. Tylenol, then Advil, then Tylenol, then Advil. So coaching, healing, coaching, healing. That is Rekindled. Oh my goodness. I hope somebody's laughing as they watch this. And the coaching is always an hour one-on-one. The healing can either be an hour over Zoom like this, or it can be while you go about your day at a kind of like, I'll say it's going to be, whatever morning works good for you. We plan it by your schedule, but it can be while you go about your day and I send you a voice note. And so there's two price points, and usually it's 1197 for the version where you're going about your day for the healing, just because it takes a little bit less time and planning for me. And then it's 1555 for the 12 one-on-one, the 12 hours together. And for everybody who's here, I'm going to offer these two packages at $997. So that's for the 6 coaching and 6 distance healing, not in person, not on Zoom. And then 1197 for the 12 hours one-on-one over Zoom. We create ritual. We help you to set those boundaries with people that need setting with. We heal. We hop into your subconscious with the energy healing. I think one of the pieces about this container that is really unique and powerful is the healing piece, because traditional coaching is amazing. I think it's really important to talk through things and get those skills and techniques. But for the really deep and lasting change, You need that way to access your subconscious brain and the patterns there. And so the blending of the coaching with the healing gets us into that subconscious, gets us seeing things that we wouldn't otherwise see, and gives us the tools to shift. We also let your body's wisdom be your guide. So it's not like a rigid set of, you must meditate for 10 minutes and then journal and then XYZ. We talk about the tools, but at the end of the day, we work with your body, what it's telling you need, and craft those rituals and those shifts together. So if that sounds intriguing, if you're interested, if you're curious, hop on a call. There is zero pressure. I do not want anyone to feel like if they come on a call with me, they're going to have to sign up to work with me. I'd love to chat though, if you feel like it might be for you. And I promise you'll walk away with a little bit of clarity, for sure, some next steps, a practice, a ritual to take into your day. So without further ado, and payment plans are available. So without further ado, I am going to pop on a song and I'm going to get up and dance, and I'm going to link the song in the email. And yeah, if you want to play it later and dance that way, you can. If you want to just listen to this and get up and move away from your computer and dance, you can do that too. We're going to crank it. Maybe.